Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video on if it fits your macros for beginners. Macros 101, getting started with macros, flexible dieting for beginners. Did I say that? I don't know. But today I'm going to be doing a from start to finish, getting started with macros. I've done a macros for beginners video in the past, which was a lot of just kind of tips and tricks about what I like to do and how I kind of got started with macros. But this video is actually going to cover the things that you, as someone who does not have any idea what macros are, can kind of get a hang of, how to get started, and the basics for things that I kind of forget that I needed to know when I was getting started with macros. I started back in 2013 tracking my macros, and there are a lot of questions that I had that I forget now that you guys don't have this knowledge in your back pocket. So today that's what we are going to do. I have written down notes, so we are going to actually be real organized. Usually I'm just very rambly, but today we're hopefully going to be doing something that's going to help you out more than any other video that I have ever done. So pretty much to begin, the one thing that you're going to need to know is what are macros. Macros are what makes up all of the foods that you eat. So yes, you may be a calorie counter, so macros is kind of a step up from calorie counting, and it's targeted for those who are looking to make more specific changes to their physique rather than just kind of keep stable weight or gain weight or lose weight. There's a little bit more specific, and it kind of evolves a little bit more about your activity and what your goals are. So the first thing that you need to know that macros are short for macronutrients, which are carbs, proteins, and fats. And I'll link some resources below to explain exactly what those are, I guess, if you don't know what a carb, protein, and fat is, and a list of common foods that are, mostly carbs, mostly protein, mostly fat, or everything else is basically a combination of the three. So the three things that you're going to focus on when you're tracking macros are your carbs, protein, fat, and fiber. Fibers, generally, a rule of thumb, is just extremely important for digestive health. And overall other health benefits, I recommend at least 20 to 25 to 30 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories that you eat. So if you're eating, 1,500 calories, anywhere between 20 and 25 grams of fiber is something that I recommend that you shoot for. Not to say that you should be eating 1,000 calories, but that's the rule of thumb. So the next thing that you need to know is that you need to go out and get yourself a scale. This scale is broken. I've lost the thing for the batteries. You do not need something fancy. This I got online, I think on Amazon, because it looked pretty. But you can just go out to your local Target and pick up a very basic food scale. You will be fine. A lot of people have asked me about the perfect portion scale. That is great. It's got a lot of extra features on it. But honestly, you don't really need it. I never use any of the food code stuff for that scale, so you don't need to spend $40 on a scale. You can spend $10 to $15 on a good scale that's going to last you a long time. The next thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to download MyFitnessPal or some other macro tracking app onto your iPhone, unless you want to do this all by hand, but I generally suggest, unless you have prior knowledge to anything about macros, stick with the app. It's much easier. Some people are old school. They love to do it by hand. Good for you. That will never be me. But you want to download MyFitnessPal, and that is the best place to get started. You can use whatever, different apps, but MyFitnessPal is my favorite. I think it is has the biggest database of food. Could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the one I'm comfortable with, so that's what I'm going to be talking about today when it comes to tracking your macros. I highly suggest when you first get started with tracking macros, before you even determine what your macros are, download the app and log typically what you eat in a day, maybe for a whole week straight. This is something that I had Marcus, my boyfriend, do last year when he first started tracking macros. I was in my off season, tracking a little bit more loosely, and when he decided to do a contest prep, he was like, okay, where do I start? I said, before we even get you what your perfect macros should be, I want you to log what you typically eat in a day, and we're gonna kind of take a look at it as we begin to create what your macros should be based on what your goals are. Now let's get into determining what your macros should be. So the first thing that you can do is hire a coach. So I'll put my email across the screen, but that's not what this video is about. This is about you getting macros for yourself to try, to work on, to help reach your physique goals. So step 2, what we're gonna focus on today is choose an online calculator. Personally, I use freedieting.com. I've talked about this before. It's the one that it's my go-to, and I use it consistently. So if I calculate my macros for one period of time and I use one website, I always go back and use the same website, because there will be discrepancies across different websites when you use different calculators. So as long as you're sticking with one, you're good. This whole thing, fitness and health, everything like that, consistency is going to be your absolute best friend. I, beat that like with a bat over and over again, that word, consistency. But the only way to see results, either they're positive or negative results, is to have consistency. The first step to figuring out what your macros should be is figuring out what your calories should be. So there's tons of calculators online, so you basically plug in and fill out all of that stuff, and it's very basic. Don't read too far into it. Figure out your macros there, and then the macro figure out your calories there, and then the macro breakdown is based off of a couple of things. So rule of thumb, and this is a generalization, for choosing a good macro split to start, is generally you start with protein. So I recommend anywhere from 0.8 to 1 gram per pound body weight. So I'm a normal person, I'm 116 pounds currently, 116 pounds currently. So if I were just kind of looking to maintain or see where my maintenance macros were, I would probably be eating about 115 to 120 grams of protein. If you are further into contest prep, you're going to be anywhere up to 1.2 to 1.5 grams per pound of protein. So just multiply your body weight times whether it's 0.8 or it's 1.5, depending on what your goals are. The next thing that you're going to focus on is fat. So you've already figured out your protein. Now you're going to figure out what your fat macros should be. And I suggest anywhere from 20 to 35% of your macros should be from fat. Generally, if you have a lot of weight to lose, I keep fat on the lower side, and that's just kind of personally, that's how I do things. Some people do them differently, but that's my suggestion for you to get started. And then you take the remainder of those calories that you have left, and that's what you have for carbs. Macros are not magic. A lot of this is trial and error. Always with macros, there's a lot of science and evidence-based research going into certain benefits of higher carbs, lower fat, health reasons, this and that, but a lot of it is trial and error. So if you stick with something, don't stress about, oh my god, wait, she eats more protein than me, I should be too. No, you need to just try something out and see if it works. Once you've figured out your basic maintenance macros, then you kind of determine whether you would like to maintain, whether you would like to build, or whether you would like to cut, and then you adjust your calories accordingly. The macro splits are really trial and error, like I had said before. So when you have something, you stick with it. And this is probably the most common question: what happens, how long, what should you do when you're at a plateau? How long should you be on these macros for before you change them? I've answered this a few times, but you cannot change anything unless you have been consistent with them long enough. So if you have been here and there, all over the place, binging on the weekends, drinking, not eating your macros, not eating some days, you can't accurately tell if those macros are working at all. So be consistent for at least 3 weeks before you make any changes. Unless something's really not working for you, unless you set your calories too low or way too high, make small tweaks. And if you change something, try not changing it all at the same time. Tweak one thing and see if that works, because if you tweak it all at once, you will never know if it is actually what you changed, like which one is which is what caused this and that. So think about your variables and change one at a time and see and rule things out. One of my biggest tips is not to underfeed yourself. I see too many people that are looking to lose weight that start with macros, and if they do it themselves and they don't hire a coach, or they hire a coach and they have 50, 60 plus pounds to lose, maybe even 20 pounds to lose, and they just begin at this very rapid low calorie, low carb diet, unless for health reasons instructed by your doctor. But again, sometimes doctors instruct certain diets for people and it's just wrong. So the cross between people that know what they're talking about when it comes to nutrition and doctors is very just kind of fuzzy. So don't underfeed yourself. Start small. The point of flexible dieting and why we do this and why this is just kind of blown up in the weight loss and muscle building community, because it allows for sustainability, it allows for longevity, it allows for you to do this for the rest of your life. Maybe not necessarily track macros for the rest of your life, but learn about portion sizes, about foods, about what fuels you, about what it's a best tool for you to learn. And so lost my train of thought. So don't underfeed yourself. Start small. Losing a ½ pound per week is much more sustainable for the long term. You will end up losing those 50 pounds. It may take you longer, but you won't hate yourself doing it. So far we have discussed how to determine your calories, how to determine your macros, and getting started. So basically the next thing that you as a beginner should do is have a macro range. So I have discussed how to set what your macros should be. Having a macro range is probably the best way for beginners not to get frustrated with choosing foods that fit their macros, because it's so great to see all those numbers line up in MyFitnessPal, but the likelihood of that happening, unless you are very skilled in it, even most days I'll be plus or minus 2. Even on contest prep, I try my best, but I don't kill myself over not hitting my macros, plus or minus 2 to 3 grams. Just so you know, fat has more calories per gram, so that's why you'll see protein at 150 and fat at 45, because there's more calories that come from 1 gram of fat than there do carbs or protein, which is 4 calories, if I didn't mention that beforehand. When you're starting with macros, whether you're transitioning from clean eating, whether you just eat whatever you want, start by plugging in the foods that you generally enjoy eating throughout the day and seeing how that lines up with your macros, or just seeing what you eat in a day, how many calories, and adjust from there, making meals. If you're transitioning from clean eating to if it fits your macros, one thing that someone asked me to talk about was choosing healthy foods over processed foods. A lot of people think flexible dieting is all about fitting Pop-Tarts and donuts and junk into your macros, when if you're truly looking to improve your health, your physique, that is not the case. This topic has been covered so many times, I don't feel like talking about it because the controversy is just kind of annoying to me. If you are serious about weight loss, if you're serious about your health, you will not be only using if it fits your macros to fit in cupcakes and gummy worms. I don't know, that's what I'm thinking about right now. But so that's just old news. Focus on your health first. Always choose the apple rather than the cookie if you have macros to spare. Not to say that you can't ever have that cookie, but just think about it. If you've had cookies 5 days in a row, maybe the apple is a good choice today. Okay, now on to hitting your food, hitting your macros. How do you do it? How do you plan? Pretty much, I like to take my macros. I like to determine, and this is for any client that I work with, I like to determine what time they are eating their first meal of the day and what time they're eating their last meal of the day. Some people wake up and they don't eat their first meal until 10 a.m. and other people are doing a workout at 5 and they eat breakfast by 6:30. Someone who eats breakfast at 6:30, I would likely give, and doesn't eat their last meal until like 9 p.m., I would generally give them 6 to 7 meals depending on how many calories they're consuming, to space out meals evenly throughout the day for their best performance at work, school, life, workouts, everything like that. So I take the breakdown and I will divide for them and provide for them their meal breakdown as well as their total calorie and macronutrient values. So pretty much, I suggest having even meals as you get started. It will just help you plan a little bit better. Okay, I was kind of on a roll, and my camera, the only complaint I have about this camera is that it overheats if I talk to it for a long time. So we're gonna go back and try and get we're just gonna go back to what we were doing before. So the last thing that I believe I was talking about was, I believe it was about planning your day. So I talked about how I do a meal breakdown, and then I advise you when you're starting out to plan your day by putting in the food that you absolutely want to have. Say you, like, I go on kicks every once in a while, and I'm like, I love English muffins. So I'm like, I'm gonna make damn well sure that I fit that English muffin into my macros. So I plan out exactly what I want to have, that I'm sure of it that I want to have. And then I be sure to add at least 2 to 3 servings of vegetables. I know, oh my god, vegetables, you guys don't want to eat them, but you do. You need to in order to hit your fiber. And if you're tracking macronutrients the right way, fiber is a very important thing that I've already talked about, because you want your digestive health to be good. You want to wake up and you don't want to feel bloated. You don't want to feel gross. You want to wake up and you want to drink your coffee and you want to have a great morning. So plan out your vegetables, meal that you definitely want to have, your pre and post workout meal. And so a lot of people ask, okay, so what should my pre and post workout meal consist of? Generally, rule of thumb, to start out, your per meal breakdown. Have exactly what I've given you or what you've calculated as your per meal breakdown to be your pre and post workout meal. You can get into the no fats post-workout, put your fats before your workout. That's what I generally do. I'll have, rather than have my 8 to 10 grams of fat post-workout, I actually have 15 to 20 pre-workout. Great place to start. Then I suggest that you add in your breakfast. For me, breakfast is huge. I am very picky about what my breakfast is because I know certain foods keep me full longer and they fuel me for the day. So I always put my last meal, my breakfast in, my pre and post workout meal, what I'm thinking, my vegetables, and then with the remainder of the macros, I see where I can add, subtract, maybe completely swap out a meal, but you have to start somewhere. So if you're getting frustrated and when you're first getting started with macros, just plug in some stuff that you want to eat. Think about what you would order out at a restaurant if you're having difficulty making meals. Say you love chicken fajitas and you want to make your own. So put it out, plan it out in MyFitnessPal, and then go to the store and buy it and make, and if you say like, oh, this is gonna be just like the restaurant style meal that I love, but I'm gonna make sure that it fits my macros, go out and get the ingredients and make it yourself. Add some flair, add some spices, do fun stuff. You can make the foods that you love at home healthy, fit your macros. You just have to think about it. If you're struggling, plus or minus, you've got 15 grams of carbs, no fat, no protein left, don't be afraid to add in condiments. I think some people forget that the other things that you eat that aren't necessarily food will count towards your macros and calories if they have calories in them. So this goes for drinks. So you do need to log your sodas, you do need to log anything else. Some people log their fish oils, some people log gum. I don't think you need to track gum if you're having a reasonable amount per day. So if you're eating a pack of gum a day, yeah, you may want to track that, but first, why would you waste your food on that? So maybe cut back on some of the other habits if you realize that they're cutting into the foods that you love to eat. One thing that Marcus struggled with a lot when we were first starting getting him with going with macros was he didn't realize that he could cut serving sizes and portions in half. You didn't have to have a whole serving of something to fit. So once you get your like general things plugged in, don't be afraid to have 0.5 of a serving of something or 2.5 servings of something to hit your macros, rather than always needing to add in an extra food or take one out, same thing. And this goes for a lot of people ask me, how do I hit my protein? First things first, bigger portion sizes, that should come first. So if you're like, a lot of people said at the end of the day, I don't want to drink a protein shake. I'm like, why wouldn't you just make PE Science Select protein fudge, and you'll be protein pudding, and you'll be so happy like to have that protein at the end of the day. But I get it, you don't want to drink a protein shake at 9 o'clock at night because it's the only thing left that you have to eat. increase your portion sizes. Things that you can get protein from are your basics like chicken, beef, fish, protein powders, egg whites, lots of dairy. Fat-free cheese is like my favorite thing in the world. I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't eat any right now, but those are awesome sources for protein. If you are vegan, we have girls on our team that are vegan and they eat 130 to 150 grams of protein per day, and I'm always like, your food looks so good. Like, they share it in the Facebook page and I'm like, how? Why? Maybe I should be vegan. I don't think I could do that, but good for you if you do. Everybody has their reasons, not what this video is about. Now, I am going to say this, I may not have to do this, but I may split these videos into two because I think so far I've talked a lot, and there's still more that I want to go over. So if this is the end of the video, then this is the end, but there is another one coming. I'm just going to record it right now and split it up into two so I can separate the two, and it can be all fun and games from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you subscribe to my channel. If you've liked it, follow me on Instagram. Check out any of our online coaching macro-based programs. We don't do any macro consults. I throw out free ones every once in a while, but we do full-on programs, and we generally find that the people that do the best are the ones that have kind of exercise and nutrition go hand in hand. I'm a total program to follow. I know a lot of people think that they know what they are doing in the gym, but just having it go hand in hand just makes it much smoother, much easier. So I am Elle from Best Fit Body Fitness, and that's all I have for you today. Send me an email, leave a comment below, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and found it helpful, and let me know what else you want to see from me, because this is my habitat. This is where I like to be. I like to be talking about important things, and taking you through my day is important to not me, but if you guys like it, gives you a little insight on my contest prep, all that stuff. That's the end of this video, so I will see you in the next one that is going to be recorded in like 3 seconds. I'm about to do it, so I will see you very, very soon.